Welcome back. What we've been covering this weekend extensively is the show of political clout by the EFF yesterday. Well, the rally yesterday was attended by several political party leaders from other parties, including Azapo, the PAC, the ATM and the UDM. And we were hoping to bring you this earlier. We are now joined by UDM leader Bantu Holomisa. Mr. Holomisa, thank you very much. You stood up and you said that the ANC has eaten the country's money and opposition forces must unite. Some might say this is a sign of political maturity, that you were willing to take the stage, as it were, at an EFF event. But we're not used to this in South Africa. Others might say, what's going on? Are you going to join the EFF? I mean, how do we take this as the electorate?
Well, I don't know what informs you to come to such cheap conclusions. You must remember that the United Democratic Movement was the only party which was invited in 2013 to give a message during the launch of the EFF. And we have been together in many instances. And even during the 2016 local government elections, after the election, the UDM called all opposition parties, including the EFF on the far left and Freedom Front Plus from the far right. And I said, let's compare notes. And that meeting concluded that we should push the ANC out of the metros. So where do you get the notion that UDM can join the EFF?
I didn't get it from anywhere, sir. I asked you a question. I just put a few thoughts out there. But Mr. Holomisa, you have been very critical of the ANC around corruption. And let's be clear now, claims of corruption have not led to any sort of prosecution when it comes to the EFF leadership, but there has been smoke. Floyd Shivambu's brother implicated in VBS fraud, the benefactor, Mazotti, admitting to dodging tax in the past. With all of that, do you believe that the EFF will stand for good governance?
The United Democratic Movement is not calling for EFF to form a government alone. The call I made yesterday was referred to all political parties in the opposition who have been working together. Had it not been for the opposition parties, including the EFF, for your information, you would have not seen the light of, we would never had the Commission of Inquiry by Zondo, nor did Thulima Donsela's findings would have been implemented. So we work collectively, but if one is accused of having embezzled funds, that is the duty of the Ekele and the law enforcement agencies and the courts of South Africa.
All right, my final question for you. Obviously, there are going to be comparisons and the history of parties who broke away from the ANC, COPE, the PAC, and the UDM. You've had the staying power, but no party has changed the political landscape fundamentally like the EFF has. What is it about the EFF that has allowed them to stand their ground and put on a display like they did yesterday?
Next time you must do your homework properly. I didn't break away from ANC. I was expelled from the ANC. And I went out of the ANC with my own briefcase. So reframe your question then.
Okay, you were expelled from the ANC and you left the ANC. Several parties have, and they haven't made the huge impact on the electorate that the EFF has. I'm just wondering what you think the EFF has in terms of qualities that has led to a showing like yesterday.
You must also remember that the mistake which was done by the ANC was to expel the ANC Youth League leadership altogether. And when the EFF started their own party, immediately they had a national footprint because the structures of the Youth League all over the country were sympathetic to the expulsion of the executive of the Youth League. I think that was a mistake which the ANC will regret for future. But credit must be given where it is due. The EFF leadership have worked hard. For them to say we are going to go to the FNB stadium and fill up that stadium, the advantage is that what we have noticed is that they achieved that objective. Remember that the ANC, which had filled up that stadium before, was using state resources. Agrizi and Posasa, of Posasa, as well as Zondo Commission, confirmed that ANC has been using state resources. So you can't compare some of these parties you have mentioned with the ANC, because ANC from day one has been sustained by using by state resources.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your time. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa commenting after the EFF rally yesterday.